But now, I want to move on. Britain will not ally with Europe, but with the young lions. We've always believed that for a long time, based upon Ezekiel 38 and probably other quotes. Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions thereof, shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil? So Tarshish will be allied with the young lions, not with Europe. So if you come back in mind to where we were in Isaiah chapter 23, verse 17 is quite interesting. It says this, and it shall come to pass after the end of 70 years, at the end of 70 years, see that? That the Lord will visit Tyre, and she shall turn to her hire, and shall commit fornication with all the kingdoms of the world upon the face of the earth. And a merchandise or a money, and again, will ultimately be used to build up the promised land. But notice what it said, 70 years and something's going to happen. Now, Brother Thomas, H.P. Mansfield, Brother Graham Pearce, I could have multiplied that several times. All said that Britain cannot be included amongst the area of Europe. It's got to break away from Daniel's image territory. Brother Graham Pearce, Britain will separate from Europe. This is said years ago. And indeed, that has been happening. Now remember that quote we looked at a few moments ago, at the end of 70 years? Well, as the Second World War came to an end, Churchill proposed the plan that Britain should join up with Europe and moderate Europe's behaviour. The plan was proposed, the idea was proposed in 1946. 70 years later on, pretty well exactly, they proposed to leave. The plan was there to leave the EU. But now, when did they join? Well, they finally joined in 1949. Now, remember what the scripture said? At the end of 70 years. 70 years and a few months, and bang, spot on. It was fulfilled. You know, we can have utter confidence in the scriptures, can't we, brothers and sisters? Amazing. And here we are that, just in a few verses later on, it seems to be talking to us about coronavirus and the consequences that are going to come. We'll come back to that later. So here we are, Britain on the way out. No sign of doomsday as Britannia rules the waves. No, it isn't. Waves the rules and leaves. Here he is, the bear, Tarshish, driving away, moving away from the EU area. So we can see the scene, brethren and sisters. And it's grave what's happening. You know, Britain has laid claim to the water all around Britain for fishing purposes, as it used to hold. And Europe is upset about it, particularly France. And here's an island off the coast of France, which is British, Jersey. And because they were saying that these are our fishing rights, says Britain, the French rallied their ships. Here they are, 100 French ships, and brought it out around Jersey. Look at the date, May this year. Grave scene. So what did Johnson do? Boris, he sent out the Navy. And here's some of the ships that turned up. And so these sailed off. But they said, if you don't look after us, we'll turn off your electricity because we supply it from France. And probably they do. Look how close it is to France. So here's the gravity of the scene. But it's not only just that in that waterway. Russian ships are coming in. Russian ships are coming in. 17 times the Royal Navy has been out in the last year, driving out Russian ships. 11 times driving out Russian planes. Little funny point. The British said, look, Russia, if you keep this up, we might have to shoot one down. The Russians came back and said, every one of them's got an atom bomb on board. I don't think they did. But the point was, if you shoot it down, you get an atom bomb dropped on your country. So you can see the gravity of what's going on. They're being intimidated by Russia. And now this lady, of course, as we know, has taken over from Mr. Juncker. She'd taken over a year ago. and taken over the control of the EU. There she is, Ursula von der Leyen. But what she said was, we're worried about Russia. She didn't actually openly say Russia, but we're worried about an enemy on our borders. She said, we're going to have to do something. She said, look, we've got to be careful because I might have to take over factories here and here and here to put you on jobs to produce weapons. So what was the consequence? Say you owned part of that factory, what would you do? Maybe you own shares in it. And she might take over. That's what she's saying. So many people sold up their shares and sent the money to Britain. Look, the exchange rate between the euro and the pound this year has gone dramatically like that. Because people are pulling money out of Europe and putting it into Britain. They can see the fearing what's going on. As well as that, of course, now we're seeing Britain saying they're going to boom. They've signed up with 62 new trading deals worth 600 billion in pounds. There's Boris looking pretty happy about it all. Has he come away from the EU and joining up with other countries? And he's formed a new group. We might call it the Young Lions Group. Kenzak, Canadian, Australian, New Zealand, United Kingdom. See the letters? And so we can see a call to let's embrace the Commonwealth instead. That was his words. And here's some of the leaders of the Commonwealth countries. The young lion and the old lion and the younger lions are coming together as we would expect. It's a cute, brethren and sisters. It's amazing. And here we are, just a day or two ago, those two met down in Cornwall. Here's the leader, here's Morrison, our Prime Minister. And what's he saying to Boris? Well, he said, listen, I want to set up a trade arrangement with you, a free trade arrangement. And they're talking about it taking maybe 3 days and a bit more if necessary. Our Prime Minister wasn't too confident. But anyhow, they got together and it's all over in 3 hours. 3 hours and they were agreed. It's not complete yet, but the bulk of it has been discussed. And they're now talking about forming a new trade alliance which will affect our economy, they reckon, by up to 1.3 billion each year. And drop off China somewhat, who's been trading with us. More on that in a minute. But now, here's Brother Thomas in exposition of Daniel. I'm not quite sure how he proves this, but logic demands it. He claims that at the time of the end, there's going to be something that's going to divert the attention of the Ottoman allies, NATO, as we have it today, from the Black Sea. This diversion will be Russia's opportunity. So he says the Western world is going to be diverted by something. Away from thinking about Russia and the threat. What could that be? USA said, Russia is not our major threat. China now is our biggest military threat. Yes, it's got a bigger army. What about us here in Australia? Lethal capability in Prime Minister's $270 billion defence plan. We're going to spend money big to defend ourselves because we're worried about China. And our attention's been drawn away from where it should be as far as Scripture is concerned, or where our nation should be as far as Scripture is concerned, until at the last. Well, this is what's happening in Australia. Targeting Asian-specific defence, Australia to spend $580 billion in a year to upgrade 4 military bases. And we're inviting Russia to come back, America to come to us. See those 2 bases there? They want naval ships from America. They want men up here. They're inviting them to come back into Australia to defend us against China. Look at the dates. April, June 2021. Now, we're fearful of what's going on to the north. And so we're being distracted. America's being distracted. They should be more attentive of the Middle East. We know from Scripture. And so, Biden and Johnson, though, still are coming together. The greatest ally, they say. So after that meeting down in Cornwall, which I talked about a moment ago, there the two are coming together again, trading together. So you can see the Commonwealth, Tarshish, Britain, and the Commonwealth countries all coming together before us, and even America's included in that, it would seem, forming an alliance. Exactly as what we would expect, brethren and sisters. Exactly as Brother Thomas anticipated long ago.